Is slavery really an issue of the past, or has it just grown more grotesque in nature? I attended a seminar some time ago about human trafficking. It was put on by an organization called Operation 61. And they are a nonprofit organization who fight against human trafficking. Since that time, I have read a lot of information on human trafficking, and I am now indirectly involved with another organization called A21. And they do pretty much the same thing as Operation 61, but on a global scale. I want to help you understand how prevalent human trafficking is, and to help you understand that it is right in your backyard. I'm going to begin by defining human trafficking for you, and then I'm going to go over some staggering statistics, and then I'll finish things up by putting flesh on those numbers. Let me begin by defining human trafficking to help deepen your understanding of what it is. There are a couple of definitions that I found. The first is by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and they define human trafficking this way: the exploitation of persons by coercion or abuse for prostitution or other sexual acts for labor services. The Department of Homeland Security defined it this way: a modern day form of slavery involving the illegal trade of people for exploitation or commercial gain. They say it is a hidden crime, and that coercion or abuse is used to ultimately exploit their victims. Common factors in these definitions are that coercion and abuse are both used to ascertain victims. Then, of course, there's the economic implications for financial gain. And then exploitation, whether it be for sex or for labor. To help give some bones to this issue, I'm going to go over some statistics with you. Human trafficking is a serious issue, and the numbers just don't lie. I'm going to first go over some victim statistics. According to the Polaris Project, who is another nonprofit organization who fight against human trafficking, they state that 20.9 million adults and children are bought and sold into human trafficking on a global scale every year. Of those, women and girls make up 98% of the victims. And then we have 26% that are made up by children. Now, the exact number of victims in the United States is unknown, but it is estimated to be in the hundreds of thousands. The National Human Trafficking Resource Center is a resource center that takes inbound calls for tips about human trafficking. And in 2015, they took 101 calls just in the state of Utah. And of course, we have the financial gain, right? It's about money. The Polaris Project website quoted the International Labor Organization as estimating that forced labor and human trafficking is a $150 billion industry worldwide. The U.S. Department of Labor identified that 136 goods from 74 different countries are made from forced labor and child labor. Now, up to this point, I've only given you information in abstract form, so I'm going to take just another minute and bring life to these numbers for us. I'm going to begin with the story of Kevin. His story was featured on the Polaris Project website that I mentioned earlier in my presentation. He was recruited by a manager for a magazine company with the promise of a signing bonus. Kevin found himself working from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. on a daily basis with minimal pay, and needless to say, there was no signing bonus. In addition, he found out that some of the other people working in this company were being paid in the form of drugs. Unfortunately, anybody was too scared to do anything for fear of retaliation. And then we have little Bella. Bella was a 4-year-old girl who was forced to sleep on a cracked sidewalk so that she could beg for money for her captors. And luckily, she was rescued by the A21 campaign. Then we have Anne. Anne is from Utah, and she had an 18-year-old daughter who tragically died as a result of human trafficking, and unfortunately became aware that she was involved in those things until it was too late. Now, as I bring this to an end, let me review what I've covered, and then I'll end with a quote to really hit home my main point. I began by providing you a definition of human trafficking, and then I went over some staggering statistics with you, and then I, of course, gave you those heart-wrenching stories at the end to bring life to those numbers. As I've illustrated, human trafficking is a prevalent issue, and it's not just in other countries. It's right here where we live. A quote given on Thunderclap's website, which is a website that is used to promote various campaigns, will sum this up well for us. If you think slavery ended in the United States in 1865, think again.